Hello friends, welcome to the session today. My name is Soni and by now I think you know me very well. I'll be your trainer for this session. Today's session is on comparatives. The word is comparatives. Don't worry if you don't know the word or you don't understand its meaning, because I'm here to tell you about comparatives in detail today. Let me first tell you the aims and objectives of the program. We learn about the positive, comparative and superlative degrees of comparison. Then we'll try and understand the use of certain words. Words like as, than, the and but. We'll then form regular comparatives and superlatives. Towards the end of a session, we have certain facts and details about irregular adjectives. While I was telling you the aims and objectives of the program, if you felt that the words are difficult or how would you understand them, don't worry, because these words are simple words with simple meanings and I'm there to help you with a lot of examples. Now let's talk about something. Are we all aware of Rani Mukherjee? Yes, good. So Rani Mukherjee is a famous Bollywood actress, great actress. Do you like her? You do? What do you like about her? Acting, okay. She's beautiful. Yes, Rani is beautiful. But what about the latest actress Katrina Kaif? What do you think about her? She's even more beautiful. So Katrina is more beautiful than Rani, isn't she? Okay. And what about our own Miss World, Aishwarya Rai? Well, the title speaks for her because Aishwarya Rai is the most beautiful actress. So do you realize what have I been trying to convey? I'm trying to compare beauty. Let's take another example. Instead of the word beautiful, we'll use some other word this time. Rani is pretty.
Katrina is prettier than Rani. Aishwarya is the prettiest actress.
What is the difference? The words have the same meaning, but in the first example, I used more beautiful and most beautiful, whereas in the second example, I did not say more pretty or most pretty. I said prettier and prettiest. Don't worry if you don't understand why it has happened, because we'll discuss certain words and certain rules which will explain the examples. Let's talk about the different degrees of comparison. The comparison can be divided into certain degrees. The degree of comparison of an adjective describes the relative value of an adjective. Now, what is an adjective first of all? You should know we've already done a session on adjectives. Adjective is a word that tells you about the quality of a noun or about a specific feature of someone. So when we try to compare the qualities or the features of two people or say more than two, that thing is known as degree of comparison. An adjective may simply describe a quality. Now we've started with the degrees. The first degree we are talking about is when an adjective simply describes the quality of a person. For example, Sita is a tall girl. What is the adjective? Tall. It tells you about the quality of Sita. Sita is a tall girl. Such an adjective which is simply telling you about a quality or describing a quality is called as a positive degree. इसमें हमने सीता को किसी से कंपेयर नहीं किया है, हमने सिर्फ सीता के बारे में बताया है. So it is positive degree. But if we compare the quality of one person or one object with another, then it becomes comparative degree. For example, Sita is taller than Meena. Now we are comparing two people, Sita and Meena, on the basis of their height. We say Sita is taller than Meena. So when two people come into the picture and there is a comparison of their qualities, we call it a comparative degree. So a positive degree होगी, comparative degree होगी. There is one more degree. We may compare the quality of one person to many persons. We may compare Sita's quality with so many other girls. If we are comparing Sita with Meena, just two, it is comparative. But if we compare Sita with all the girls in the class, it becomes superlative. Super, सबसे अच्छी. Okay? For example, if I say Sita is the tallest girl in the class, this shows as compared to all the girls in the class, Sita is the tallest. Alright? So this comparison shows a superlative degree. I'll just revise this for you. First is the positive degree, when we simply describe an object. Second is comparative degree, when we compare two objects. Third is superlative degree, when we compare one object with more than two objects. So superlative degree is the highest degree of comparison, when the quality of a person is the highest, best as compared to others. Okay? Now this was a brief description or a brief discussion on the 3 degrees. Let's move on to more detail and let's talk about the positive degree. The positive degree is the most basic form of the adjective. Positive because it does not describe a quality in relation to the qualities of others. I've explained it already that positive degree is simply describing a person or any object. There is no comparison going on. For example, it is a cold day. You are describing the day to day. You're not comparing it. Is mathematics a difficult subject? You're not comparing mathematics with any other subject. You're just bothered about mathematics as a subject. The mango is a sweet fruit. You're describing the quality of mango, that it is sweet. Another example, I saw an interesting film yesterday. The film you saw was interesting, that's it. The quality of the film is that it was interesting. Similarly, I study in a good school. You're just talking about your school, about the feature or the quality of your school. So all these examples express positive degree. Simple one, no problems? Good. Next, let's move on to the comparative degree. The comparative degree denotes a greater amount of quality relative to something else. Relative means in relation to or as compared to something else. In this case, you have two objects or two people in the picture. For example, it is a colder day as compared to yesterday. पहले हमने क्या कहा था? It is a cold day. We were not talking about yesterday or tomorrow. But today we are saying that it is a colder day as compared to yesterday. We are comparing today with yesterday. So the word colder gives a comparative degree, a comparison. Another example. Is mathematics more difficult subject than physics? Or is mathematics more difficult as compared to physics? Earlier, we were just bothered about mathematics, that it is difficult. That was positive. But now we have taken into consideration physics as well. And we are comparing mathematics with physics. The words more difficult become the comparative degree of comparison. Next, the mango is a sweeter fruit as compared to the apple. We are comparing mango and apple. Sweeter becomes your adjective. Next, I saw a more interesting film yesterday as compared to the one I'm watching today. You've seen two films. One you saw yesterday, one you're seeing today. Yesterday film was more interesting, so a comparison has again come into picture. Last example. I study in a better school as compared to other schools. You think that your school is better than other schools. This is what we mean by the statement. Now do you have a good idea of the difference between the positive and the comparative degree? Great. Let's see some more examples of comparative degree. Anuj is taller than his father. Now, what are we comparing? We are comparing Anuj's height with his father's height. This means that Anuj's degree of tallness is greater than his father's degree of tallness. Maybe his father's height is 6 feet, but Anuj's height is 6 feet 1 inch. Which means, who is taller? Anuj. So, Anuj is taller than his father. It does not mean that the father is short. Of course, the father is 6 feet. How can he be short? But as compared to Anuj, he is not as tall as Anuj. Anuj is taller than his father. एक और एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. Sandeep is not taller than his father. A negative statement. It does not mean that Sandeep is not tall. Maybe Sandeep is 6 feet tall and his father is 6 feet 5 inches tall. But Sandeep, as compared to his father, is not tall enough. This is what we mean by this example. Now let's move to the third and the last degree, that is the superlative degree. The superlative degree denotes the largest quality among a group or among all things of a certain kind. I told you earlier, it is the highest degree of comparison. You compare one thing with the rest of the things in the group. Let's take some examples. Amitabh Bachchan is the best actor in Bollywood. We all agree, don't we? Good. So we are comparing Amitabh Bachchan with all the other actors in Bollywood. Amitabh Bachchan is the best. This becomes a superlative degree. Sunita is the most intelligent girl in the class. You have compared Sunita's intelligence with the intelligence of all the girls in the class. Sunita is the best, the most intelligent. Another example. The Shatabdi is the fastest train to Delhi. As compared to other trains, Shatabdi is the fastest. So it becomes superlative. Another example. 23rd December is the shortest day of the year. Again, comparison of 23rd December with all the other days of the year. Last example. The Nile is the longest river in the world. The longest. makes it superlative degree of comparison. So now are you clear as far as the 3 degrees are concerned? You are? Well, let's check. A small exercise for you wherein you're supposed to match the columns. Match the entry in column A with a suitable or appropriate entry in column B. Now first I'll read out the entries of column A and then I'll read out the entries of column B. Let's move with the column A. The Nile, Mount Everest, the Pacific, the Sahara, Russia, Asia. The Nile, Mount Everest, the Pacific, the Sahara, Russia, Asia. You'll find this exercise in your workbook. Now let me read out the entries of column B. The largest desert in the world. Next, the largest continent in the world. Next, the biggest country in the world. Next, the biggest ocean in the world. Next, the longest river in the world. And last, the highest mountain in the world. So quickly match the entries of column A with those in column B. If you notice, all the entries of column B are in the superlative degree. The longest, the biggest, the largest, all these are superlative degrees. Let's move on to the answers. First, the Nile. What is the Nile? It is the longest river in the world. So the Nile is the longest river in the world, comparing Nile with all the rivers of the world. Next, Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. Next one, the Pacific is the biggest ocean in the world. Next one, the Sahara is what is the Sahara? It is the largest desert in the world. So this exercise would improve your English and your GK as well. Next, Russia is the biggest country in the world. Last one, Asia is the largest continent in the world and we stay in the continent Asia. So wasn't this an interesting exercise? A good learning experience? Right. Now let's move on to the usage in positive, comparative and superlative degrees. If you remember, when I was discussing the aims and objectives of the program, I told you we'll discuss the use of certain words. Words like as, than, the and but. Let's talk about these words now. Now let us see how can we use the word as for comparison. Now as is generally used when the comparison is between two equal objects or it is an equal comparison. And not as means not equal. Easy? Let me give you an example. Her pronunciation is as good as yours. मतलब दोनों की equally good है, एक जैसी, good. Now if we want to say the same thing in a negative way, we can say his pronunciation is not as good as yours. दोनों की equal नहीं है. उसकी तुम्हारे जितनी अच्छी नहीं है. This is what we mean. Let's take another example. Her pronunciation is not as good as yours. Again, an element of negativity. Next, is her pronunciation as good as yours? It's a question and we are asking that दोनों की pronunciation एक जैसी है, equally good, right? So this is how you can use the word as for comparison. The comparatives are used to compare two things. Obviously, comparison means you are comparing one thing with some other thing. You can use sentences with than, or you can use a conjunction like but. We've already discussed how we can use as. Now let us see how we can use the word than and but for comparison. Tarun is taller than Raman. Similar example we had discussed earlier, comparing Anuj's height with his father. Tarun is taller than Raman. Than is being used to compare two people. Boys are normally taller than girls, but the girls of this class are taller than the boys. You've used a conjunction but. Boys are normally taller than girls. Okay, but there is a difference or there is an exception. The girls of this class are taller than the boys. Generally, boys are taller than the girls, but if we consider this class, the girls are taller than the boys. Do you get an idea how you can use than and but? You do? Good. Now let us see something about superlatives. Superlatives are used to compare more than two things. Superlative sentences usually use the, the, because there is only one superlative, the best thing, the highest. For example, who is the tallest boy in the class? The tallest itself means you're comparing one person with the rest of the people. Who is the tallest, the best, the superlative? This is what we mean. Another example, Sahil is tall and Sandeep is taller, but Vikram is the tallest boy in the class. We had Sahil who is tall, that is positive. Sandeep is taller, which means he's taller than Sahil. But if you want to talk about the tallest boy in the class, it is Vikram. So we've discussed all the 3 degrees in one example. Sahil is tall, Sandeep is taller, but Vikram is the tallest boy in the class. I hope now you have no problems, no doubts as far as the 3 degrees are concerned. चलो फिर देखते हैं एक एक्सरसाइज करके और देखते हैं आप लोगों के कितने मार्क्स आते हैं. The name of the exercise is, you need to mind your usage. You need to check whether you're using the correct degree of the adjective or not. It's a fill in the blank exercise. Start with the exercise now. Boys are normally taller dash girls. Dash the girls of this class are taller. Remember the usage of as, than, but, all that we've done. Next, Norwegians are a taller people dash Indians. But Miss Norway is dash tall dash Miss India. Next, January is dash coldest month. Dash February was colder dash January this year. Remember, you need to use as, than, but, these words for comparison. Last one. Hollywood films are better dash Bollywood films. Dash I don't enjoy them dash much dash our films. That's all in the exercise. Quickly use the correct word, whether it's as, than, but, the. Done? Good. Let's quickly check the answers. Boys are normally taller than girls, but the girls of this class are taller. We did this example earlier if you remember. Next one. Norwegians are taller people than Indians, but Miss Norway is not as tall as Miss India. Now you must be wondering why we've used not as instead of as tall as Miss India. Because the sentence starts with but, telling you that there is an exception. Next, January is the coldest month. Coldest मतलब superlative. हमने cold या colder नहीं कहा है, coldest कहा है. But February was colder than January this year. So cold, colder, coldest. Positive, comparative, superlative. Let's do the last one. Hollywood films are better than Bollywood films, but I don't enjoy them as much as our films. I hope you all have understood the exercise and have made all the required corrections. Now we move on to the next part of the session where we learn how to form regular comparatives and superlatives. Generally, comparatives are formed using ER, the alphabets ER, and superlatives are formed using EST. You need to put ER at the end of the adjective in case of comparatives and EST at the end in case of superlatives. This is a usual fashion, but you might have some exceptions as well. Don't worry, we have a table and it's there in your workbook as well. उस table को देखो, जब मैं बोल रही हूँ, concentrate on the table and we'll go through certain rules. Let's talk about rule number 1. Now, if your adjective, your quality of the noun, is a one-syllable word, that means it has one vowel sound. It cannot be broken further into number of vowel sounds, and that adjective ends in E, the letter E. For example, wide. Now, wide, you cannot break it into wa, a, ed. You can't make it like this. It's one syllable, wide. It ends in the letter E. Similarly, fine, cute. You can't say cute. You have to say it in one go, cute. These are words with one syllable ending in E. For such words, the rule in case of comparative is that you need to add an R, the letter R at the end. Because they already have an E, so you need not add ER, just add R. So wide will become wider, W-I-D-E-R. Fine will become finer. Cute will become cuter. Okay. Now let's see the rule for superlative in such words. In case of superlatives, you just need to add ST. Again, E पहले से ही उनके पास है. So wide will become widest, fine becomes finest, cute becomes cutest. Got this? Very important, because tomorrow if you want to compare one person with the other and you need to say Rahul is cuter than Sham, you should know how to spell that word. Okay? Let's move on to rule number 2. Only one syllable. Now, if the adjective has one syllable, we know what does this mean. With one vowel and one consonant at the end. So, at the end, instead of having E or anything else, it has one vowel and one consonant. For example, the word hot. O is the vowel, T is the consonant. Big, fat. For such words, in order to form the comparative form, you double the consonant and add an ER. Hot में consonant कौन सा है? T. तो T को double कर दो. HOTT. And add ER. HOTTER. You need to learn these rules and understand them. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to learn all the forms. अगर आपको rule पता है, then you need not learn the form. You just need to apply the rule. Similarly, for big, it becomes bigger. BIGGER. Fat becomes fatter. Now, for superlative forms of such words, again, double the consonant and add EST. क्योंकि इन वर्ड्स के पास पहले से E नहीं है, इसलिए हमें खुद से लगाना है. ठीक है? Hot becomes hottest. Big becomes biggest. Fat becomes fattest. Got this rule? Good. Next rule. For adjectives which have one syllable with more than one vowel or more than one consonant at the end. या तो एक से ज़्यादा vowel है या एक से ज़्यादा consonant है. For example, the word light. LIGHT. All three are consonants. The word neat. NEAT. The word fast. FAST. For such words, just add ER. Simply ER for comparative and EST for superlative. It becomes lighter, neater, faster, lightest, neatest, fastest. Right? Easy rule? Good. चलो next rule पे चलते हैं. Now for adjectives which have two syllables, two vowel sounds when you speak, and if they end in a Y, in this case for comparative, you need to change the Y to I and then add ER, and for superlative, you need to change the Y to I and add EST. Let's see an example. The word happy. It ends in Y, so change Y to I, HAPPI, and add ER for comparative and EST for superlative. So happy, happier, happiest. Silly, sillier, silliest. Lovely, lovelier, loveliest. आ गया समझ ये rule? Let's do the last rule. For adjectives which have two syllables or more than two and they are not ending in Y. For example, modern. Modern does not end in a Y. Interesting, beautiful. Now for such adjectives, in order to form the comparative degree, you need to add the word more before them. The word or the adjective will not change, just add more. More beautiful, more interesting, more modern. And for superlative, add most. Most modern, most interesting, most beautiful. So today we've done 5 rules how you can form the comparative and superlative degree. Go through the rules once again and you'll not have problems forming the 3 degrees of comparison. Now let's move on to the next part of this session, another topic. We'll talk about irregular adjectives. Now irregular does not mean कि उनकी shape कुछ irregular होती है. अभी तक जितने हमने adjectives किए हैं, we could easily form the comparative and superlative degree based on certain rules. But now the adjectives that we are going to talk about, there are no rules to form the comparative and superlative degree. इनको आपको याद करना पड़ेगा because the rules that we have discussed do not apply to such adjectives. That is why they are known as irregular adjectives. Let's see certain examples. First word, good. Now good does not become gooder and goodest. It becomes better. For comparison you say better than and the best. Similarly bad. Bad का कभी badder या baddest सुना है? नहीं, क्योंकि इनका rule नहीं है कोई. You learn it that for bad it is worse than and the worst. This is what is the comparative and superlative of bad. Next, little. Little becomes less than and the least. Much. Much will become more than and the most. Many. Many or much have the same form. That is, even for many it is more than and the most. Next, far, F-A-R. It becomes farther than and the farthest. Next, old. Old becomes older than and the oldest. Next, another form of old, depending if you're comparing your family members, the ages of your family members, then it becomes elder than or the eldest. So this was a brief description about irregular adjectives. We discussed some of them. Now it's your time to do some work. You need to give the comparative degrees of the following adjectives. Remember, only the comparative, superlative nahi, sirf comparative. First, interesting. What will interesting become? Now, whatever you've learned so far, you'll have to apply all that, including the rules and the irregular adjectives. Second, weak. W-E-A-K. इस weak का मतलब होता है कमज़ोर, और एक और weak होता है, उसका क्या मतलब होता है? W-E-E-K. That means हफ्ता, the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that week. Next, funny. Important. Next, careful. Polluted. Then, boring. Last is angry. You just need to write the comparative forms. Let's discuss the answers. Interesting, the comparative form is more interesting. Weak, weaker. Funny, funnier. Important, important will not become importanter. There is no such word in English. It is more important. Careful, more careful. Polluted, more polluted. You'll have to study the rules if you want to get all of them correct. Boring, more boring. Angry, G-R-Y, ending in Y, so it becomes angrier, A-N-G-R-I-E-R. I-E-R. Right? So this was a mix exercise wherein we have clubbed all the rules and we tried to solve it. Let's have a memory test for you. Let's see how much do you remember. It's a fill in the blank exercise based on the degrees of comparison. The first blank, there are no hints. No hints would be provided. Depends upon how you apply your mind. First, I think the story of the Mahabharata is dash than that of Ramayana. Next, but the Ramayana is a dash text in Hindu mythology. But the Ramayana is a dash text in Hindu mythology. Let me give you a hint. The words you can use are there in the previous exercise. Pick the appropriate words from the previous exercise. The one that we had just done, where you were supposed to write the comparative forms. Let's check the answers now. I think the story of the Mahabharata is, कौन सा word suit करता है? More interesting than that of the Ramayana. But the Ramayana is a more important text in the Hindu mythology. Simple one, you already had a lot of words with you. You just had to fill in the blanks with the appropriate ones. Now, for the same set of words, जिसके लिए आपने comparative लिखा था, give the superlative degrees. I'll repeat the words quickly for you. Interesting, weak, funny, important, careful, polluted, boring, and angry. This time write the superlative degrees. Done? Kar liya? Good. Chalo, let's see the answers. Interesting becomes most interesting. So the 3 degrees are interesting, more interesting, most interesting. Similarly, weak, weaker, weakest. Funny, funniest. Important will become in superlative as most important. Careful, most careful. जिन जिन के more वाले forms थे वो superlative में most हो जाते हैं. Polluted, most polluted. Boring, most boring. Angry, angriest, because the comparative was angrier, so the superlative becomes angriest. Now let's have a similar memory test for this exercise as well. You need to fill in the blanks with the superlative forms of the words that we've just done. Was Jaspal Bhatti's flop show dash comedy show I ever saw? I don't know. Have you seen Jaspal Bhatti's comedy show? The flop show? You have? Some of you might have. You can ask your parents or maybe your elder brothers, sister or your teacher about it. I'm sure they must have seen it. It used to come on Doordarshan. Next blank. But I know that Jassi Jaisi Koi Nahi was dash show I ever saw. I could not miss a single episode. So this was the exercise. You had to fill in the blanks with the words in the superlative forms. Pick the words from the previous exercise. Now let me tell you the answers. Was Jaspal Bhatti's flop show the funniest comedy show I ever saw? I don't know. You're comparing it with all the other comedy shows. Next, but I know that Jassi Jaisi Koi Nahi was the most interesting show I ever saw. I could not miss a single episode. Got it? So how was this exercise? So this was all in the session today, but you need to work hard and go through comparatives once more, because in the next session we'll continue with comparatives and we'll have some conversations on comparatives. But before those conversations, I have a lot of exercises and activities for you. If you will not study, if you will not do your homework, you will not be in a position to do the exercises in the next session. So go home, relax and revise comparatives. Until next time, bye-bye.